Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey, buddy, how am ya?
I'm just eating a cream egg because I'm fucking starving.
You're eating the cream egg? How you doing there, buddy?
Not too bad, buddy. All good, pal. All good. You okay?
Wait, I'm never better. All the better for seeing your smiling countenance, as they say. So, hey, man, you're a bit of a rock star these days, man. You had the old UFC down for you.
Come through the territory, Mick. I'm a celebrity, and I know an old man celebrity, knowing the values.
You tell you what, it doesn't get any bigger around Abertillery, me old mate, than you, does it?
We had this conversation yesterday. It's Abertillery, not Tillery.
Abertillery. See, this is what happens to you boys. Get a touch of fame, and the next thing you know, yeah.
We're precious. We get precious over old town.
Yeah, you're like Hyacinth Bouquet. For all everybody under 50, they won't get that reference, but it's Bucket, not Bouquet. Yeah,
Bouquet.
Bouquet, that's the one. I tell you what, we're doing a quick intro. Hey, guys, how you doing? It's Mick Tully for the World Martial Arts television show, and it's an absolute pleasure and joy to finally get this fella, right? Unfortunately, I knew him when he wasn't famous, and now he's famous. He's starting to tell me how to pronounce where he comes from. He'll be saying in a bit to call him Ricard Shore or something. I am
Ricard.
Ricard, is it? Well, I know him as Putty, I know him as Shaky, I know him as Richard Shaw, and it is the one and only Shakes, man. Putty, great to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm good, Mick, buddy. I'm good. Nice to be on the box, pal.
Oh, finally. I've been after you for a while.
I sometimes like to be called Hickard after Hickson. So.
Oh, the Hick.
Yeah.
Well, you see, those damn Brazilians, that's the one thing when it comes to Jiu Jitsu now, you can age someone for how long they've been in there when they start saying Rickson, Roger, Renzo, and you go, you didn't even have a Portuguese nickname, mate. I don't recognise you at all. Yeah, do you remember when everyone had the Portuguese nickname for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. The Brazilian instructors come over and started throwing names at you, didn't they?
Well, the thing was, what it was the Brazilians. I don't know if you know, man. They came over and they just didn't want to learn anyone's name. I have to admit, I've adopted that myself because it's like I don't want to learn any white belt's name. So if we sing a happy birthday at the end of the class, and it'll be that, and I go, "Happy birthday, dear white belt," and Andy McCready's wife's like, "You can't do that," and I went, "I'm getting that old. I've got a finite amount of space left in my head," and I learned this guy's name, and then he leaves after he gets his blue belt. And then I forget my wife's birthday because the space that should have that in my brain has got this kid's name in it. So yeah, I see where they're coming from. But Shakes, we're going to start at the beginning if you don't mind. It's a good place to start. How'd you get into martial arts?
Okay, so as a youngster, I was involved from the age of about 8 to 11 in judo. But good learning curve, really. Maybe we go back to it because my parents pushed me into doing a competition, and I didn't enjoy it. And that's why I've always had this attitude that we shouldn't be pushing kids into competition. For the kids at the under 16, should be about enjoying it, building a bit of confidence, keeping fit, and learning jiu-jitsu in a fun environment. So I'd done that. Then I played football from the age of 11 right up until like I'd said very early 20s. And I was working in a pub, and there was a black belt in judo and a black belt in karate working there as doorman. And I suppose it was the early onset of a little bit of mixed cross training, you know what I mean, which wasn't about back then. It was very singular, wasn't it? You either train karate. If you train karate, you weren't allowed to go to the Kung Fu Club. So we started going up there about 2 to 3 evenings a week. We had some mats up in the function room, and I'd done that probably for about on and off for about 9-10 years, you know, and was really of the belief that I could handle myself. You know, we were training regular. We'd do some sparring, do some judo in the gi, do some pad work. And then when I was 29, I think it was, I was in the old leisure centre, and I bumped into an old friend of mine at the beginning of school called Steve James, who's still one of my students to this day. And there was a matted area in the sports centre, like a dedicated martial arts room, but anybody could go in there. So I'd done my run, I'd popped in there, started hitting the bag. Steve goes, "You're still training with the doorman down the club?" I go, "Yeah, do you fancy having a grapple?" And in my mind, I think, "Oh, yeah, I'll give you a grapple. I'm going to smash him." Do you know what I mean? Who's he now to ask me if I want to grapple? And the next 3 minutes was the biggest learning curve of my entire life. I probably got submitted 6-7 times in 3 minutes. And then I had to say stop, because we've all been there. You see it with the new starters with this drowning sensation. Your lungs are not working. Yeah. You're trying to out strength. And it was the most incredible sense. I sat there gasping for breath. I was having a heart attack. Which I didn't know what they were at the time. Triangle choke, cross-collar choke, rear naked choke, guillotined, swept like a dirty floor, if I'm honest. I was like, "Steve, what the hell was that?" He's like, "Well, I've been training jiu-jitsu a couple of years, you know, you want to pop up." And that was my introduction. So the following week, I went up to the club. It was a traditional jiu-jitsu club. They were under the umbrella of the Thai Jetsu Kai. You probably remember Ross Inosanto from... I remember Ross Inosanto well, yeah. Yeah. So Ross was the head instructor of the organisation. We trained at a club called the Falcons. And I was just addicted, you know. So I turn up at the club for the first time, and I walk in, and you know the instructor says to me, "Oh, there's no technique tonight. It's a sparring night." So I look around the room. There's probably about 20 people in there. I said 15 were under the age of 16, and a couple of adults that were no better. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. You know what I mean?" And then for the next 60 minutes, I got submitted, swept, mugged off, out, cardioed by a group of children, I'll say it, children, and 4 of the most unassuming men I've ever laid eyes on as well. And it was just I tell you who was there. Joe Duffy was a 15-year-old kid at the time who was a UFC star, who went on to be a UFC star. Joe was part of the team. And I sat in the car for about 20 minutes after, and I thought, right, do I go back to the workman's club and carry on training in my comfort zone, or do I learn this? And that's when I became... I've got a bit of an addictive personality. I'm quite compulsive with stuff. I started training 5 days a week and traveling all around the country. And that would have been around about 2000, 2001. So from that point on, that's when I classed myself that I became like a full-time martial artist that was dedicated to that. I gave up football from 29 years of age. Then it was just solely learning jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, wrestling, judo, muay thai, whatever I could.
But it's funny you said that, because I had the same thing. I've said it several times in interviews where I always say, you come out of it, and the only thing I would never make fun of an assault in any way, shape, or form. But that was how I felt. I came out, and it was that whole, now, do I pretend this never happened to me, or do I embrace it? Like, and it is the true victim mentality, because it's like, do I pretend and compartmentalize that, or do I go? I use this line all the time. I got a load of young kids training with me, and they're great lads. They're all like, you know, from like 14 upwards. This is the one thing I would say about traditional martial arts now, especially when I meet old karate boys. And they're like, "He's only a kid." And I went, "I got a 14-year-old that'll batter you, mate." And they're like, "No way." And I'm like, "Trust me, I've got a couple of 12-year-olds that'll give you a stretch." You know what I mean? Yeah. And of course, one of the classic lines I do is I get side control, squeeze the hell out of them for a bit, drop the pressure game on, then give them the knee on belly. Give them the knee on belly, and always go like that. I said, "Do you want to live in a world where another human can do this to you?" And they go, "No." And I went, "No, you want to be the human doing that." And it's funny you said it, because that period, 2001, 2002, that was the litmus test for so many people. Like I held off. I hid in. And I love Jeet Kune Do and I love Kali and most of the really good guys in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I know. I all met through JKD. And what I did was I went to the custard factory, got battered, pretended it didn't exist, and then couldn't live with myself. So I had to go back. But like, I didn't really start properly training until 2009, you know, and I was exposed to it way before that. So this is if you don't mind, I'm going to ask now, when did you start teaching then?
When I was a member of this club, so like I said, we joined this club about 2001. I said around about 2005, 2006, I started helping out, taking some of the jiu-jitsu and the MMA, sessions. And then I branched off on my own in 2007. I entered one of the traditional martial arts world championships out in Germany, so I flew out for that. Massive event over 5 days. And I took a gold medal in the sport jiu-jitsu, and I took a silver medal in the grappling out there. And when I came back, I just felt like going as far as I could with the current club, so I decided then to branch off. That's where the name Abertillery Combat came from, because we needed a name. There was eight to 10 of us started training in a nightclub cellar, and that was the start of the journey. And Abertillery Combat show mixed martial arts.
I've been trying to get you for ages, because before lockdown and everything, and we were going out on the road and we were doing loads of stuff on the road. I said to Will, we've got to go down and see some of these boys down in Wales. And it was you were still I'm going to get this right now, the Abertillery. You were still the Abertillery Combat Gym, and it was like the corrugated. It was the old corrugated metal roof place, wasn't it? And And it looked like a Second World War fallout shelter. And I said to Will, I was going, Will, you should see what these guys are doing here, because if you don't mind, like, we're going to jump forward a little bit. Like some of the names for the guys who are watching who know anything about UFC, you know, like Brett Johns, Marshman, you know, like, because that was one that got me. I think it was Marshman's first fight when he was in the UFC. And I was like, this going, people don't know. Like, you want to talk about Rocky and Creed? That's a Rocky and Creed story.
I agree.
It's the truth, right?
Yeah. There was a lot of people at the time telling me and Marshman that he would need to move gyms if he was going to get the UFC. But what I will give Jack has been loyal to me, because he's been with me since he was a kid. You know what I mean? We got a bit of a father-son type of relationship. And I knew, mate. I knew that we had the right principles. We had a blueprint we were working to. And then it was a matter of time. And like, it was, at the time, it was always going to be Marshman. He was our flagship fighter at the time. He was like head and shoulders above everybody else. Bama champion, Cage Warriors champion. Then after he obviously won the Cage Warriors champion, we got signed. And we done all this, as you said, training in a training environment with no cage. It was just mats and matted walls, no strength and conditioning area, no showers at one point. We ended up getting showers in the final year that we were in that building. But yeah, it's about self-belief. And I always believed, like I travel around doing the Banter and Cage Warriors shows. I think, we belong here. Do you know what I mean? We're not outclassed. We're not out of our depth. And I used to watch, without being disrespectful, I'd watch like some of the warm-ups in some of these change rooms on the big shows, and it would blow my mind. I'm thinking, well, Christ, I believe as a coach I'm leagues above some of these established guys. And like I said, once Marshman got in the UFC, Brett signed him and fought on the same day. And I think that just opened the eyes of everybody in Wales as a nation. Is, hang on, we can do this on our own doorstep. We can, we've got a chance of making a career out of it.
Well, it's funny because, like, Leon Edwards famously said, you don't have to go abroad to become a world champion. Oh. And it's quite funny because, like, obviously I'm a real geek like yourself. I'm very compulsive, very obsessive when it comes to anything. So, of course, in MMA, back in you'll remember back in the days of Cage Warriors when, I won't go into too many details about this, but do you remember Andy Lillis, who used to be one of the guys at Cage Warriors?
Yeah.
So me and Andy Lillis had our first ever karate lesson together at 16. He actually broke my ankle in a fight. We were mates, and we were at school. We were in the sixth one, and we've been doing karate for about 6-7 months. And one of the guys was saying to me, he goes, so who's the toughest out of you and Andy? And I went, obviously me. And Andy was like, obviously me. So next thing you know, in the playground, and Andy being Andy, somebody stood on his ankle. He stood on my ankle, banged me in the head. Ankle stayed on the floor, body went horizontal, bust my ankle, walked home on it. But like once the reason I was saying all that is like that was for a lot of the newer guys when it comes to the MMA. They see the UFC, they see the razzmatazz, they see all these like YouTube influencers and A-list stars in the front seat, and they're not in the front rows. And I remember going to like Bama, Cage Warriors, and like Cage Warriors especially, you get paid in cash, like on the night. You know what I mean? And it's like you're looking at all these blokes, and you're like, this is something else, you know. But the reason I'm saying all that is, even then, I always thought that it'd be a bit more of a step to get to America. And then, you know, obviously McGregor was, I would say, probably the first. You know, Bisping was big. It's like Bisping and Poynton when they first went in to, you know, the Ultimate Fighter TV show. But then it was McGregor who got it. But then that was it. But then when I'm going to put you on the spot here. When you and all of the Welsh boys started going over, that was the first time that it wasn't like, you know, Conor was an anomaly. You know, as I've said before, you know, skilled fighter, very, very good on the microphone. And what do Americans love? They love to see white guys fight. What do they love more than that? White Irish guys fight. So I think he was quite lucky. But then it was like with you, it wasn't a case of just Marshman. It was Brett Johns, and then you know your own son. You know, If you don't mind, if you don't mind me asking, when did you realize that Jack had what it took to get there?
As in my Jack, or Marshman?
Yeah, your Jack.
My Jack. Yeah, I mean, probably about 16 years of age. You know, he was winning tournaments on the domestic circuit. He was like British juvenile jiu-jitsu champion. And he was doing all this along with playing rugby for 2 years for Abertillery under 15s and under 16. And after he'd won the British Open, and this is a story I've told 1,000 times probably, he's made that decision and spoke to me and said, I want to give this, I want to be the best fighter in the world, not a decent fighter. You know, I need to give this 100%. And he wasn't the most athletically gifted kid. You know, he was carrying weight. He wasn't very tall. You know, he wasn't the strongest lad in the gym. But at 16, you know, we had some established pros there, and Jack was winning rounds on a regular basis against them as a 16-year-old chubby kid, you know. And I knew that if physically he would start to just develop and mature a bit, we had something special because his work rate. I mean, I never once, like people probably think to some extent it was the pushy dad making him come training with me because I was a fighter. And honestly, I say to everybody, it's far from it. I've never once in my entire life had to say to him, right, get your ass in gear, you're coming training. You know what I mean? It's always been off his own back, badgering me. You know, if I was off to do some sparring with a group of men in my fighting days, it'd be, after I come, I'll just sit the bag on the side of the mat. So it fell into a pattern where he would come to every single training session on me. But yeah, I'd say 16, then 17, 18 when he had his amateur, you know, probably when he got about 3-0 amateur, and I had likes of like Leon Roberts, the UFC referee, you know, Leon pulling me and saying, listen, but you've got something special on your hands there. Jack is one of these who's probably had to work harder than anyone because, like I said, you know, genetic-wise, he's not the most physically gifted lad in the world, but he works so hard. There's nobody works harder in the gym, nobody more disciplined, nobody more dedicated. So I knew that, you know, if he had a bit of luck, and it's always a bit of luck because you've got to avoid injuries, you've got to avoid, you know, particularly young men, a woman can come on the scene and totally distract them from the art. You know, where we are from, there's not a lot happening, so drinking drugs is a big problem. You know, I've lost a lot of guys to drinking drugs on the circuit that have been really talented. But he bypassed all that, he showed a level of discipline. So, you know, I think from a young age he had the self-belief that he was going to go all the way, and I think that spread into the rest of us as coaches around him.
But one of the things I remember years ago, and it was one of Neil Simpkins' competitions, and you were just coming in through the door, and we were having the crack because my job was always just stand on the door and say hello to people. That was the thing. It was all right, Shakes, how you doing? And I had you at the time over it because you just mentioned there about Jack not being the most physically gifted character, right? But you're his father, you're his coach, so you know that you're this very positive role model, and you know you should lead by example, right? And you were the guy who posted pictures of him where he was still ironing his hair, and like when he was about 14 years of age, and then I don't know. I'm sure it was you that did the comparison. This can't be the same person. And you put a picture of him when he was a kid, and then a picture of him when he got to the UFC. And I was going, what sort of dad does this to his own kid? And then obviously there was a bit of banter back and forth. But that, you know, it was like you touched on where you're from, because obviously down that neck of the woods, like. I'm going to spit immediately after I say her name. Margaret Thatcher ripped the heart out of the community down there, right? Yeah. Took away everything. And I one of the things that I've always admired about you is the fact that especially when I was seeing you do it on social media, where it was, you were trying to explain just how much somebody could get out of coming training. And it wasn't like an infomercial. Every now and again, you post stuff about coming down and doing some training and stuff. But this was back before you had Shore Martial Arts. The way you used to sell martial arts, you didn't sell it like, oh, by the way, we've got 3 guys fighting in the UFC right now. It was more a case of, it's life shit. Come down here, we can help you out a little bit. You know, when did that come in? Did you always see that martial arts could help people?
Always. I mean, I've got a list as long as your arm of boys which have been to prison or were on the verge of going to prison. That back in the early days, I used to do a lot of work with the youth offending service, so I get a lot of referrals. And I used to try and educate these lads and say, listen, you're fighting constantly on the street. Now, I've got an opportunity here where you can come and train, where you can fight every night. And at the end of it, there'll be an opportunity for you to fight and get paid money and have a little bit of glory on the back end of it. But the two don't go hand in hand, you know. And it was just such a brilliant way of them positively getting rid of the aggression. And there's a lot of aggressive kids where we are from it. You know, we got, and I'm like a broken record with this, but I keep telling people stats because I think it's important that people appreciate just how forgotten a nation we are as Wales. You know, as you said, the miners strike in the 80s. So before the 80s, Abertillery was probably a pretty well-to-do area, probably 90% of people in employment, good wages, you know, tough jobs, but creating tough men and characters. And, you know, once the miner strikes, they're not going to affect that. Once the mines shut, so it's not just the miners that became unemployed, all the local businesses were folding and going bankrupt because the money wasn't there to be spent in the greengrocer shop or in the local sweet shop or in the video store back then when there was video shops, you know. So the knock-on effect started in 80s. So you can imagine what I picked up in the early 2000s. We're just an area with no investment, low incomes, high unemployment, high poverty. Statistically, last year, Blaenau Gwent, which is the borough that Abertillery is in, had the highest amount of children in poverty in schools. It had the second highest amount of free school meals percentage-wise in the country. It had the second highest unemployment rate in the UK. And probably, I'd go out on a limb and say, the worst amount of like investment off the Welsh government coming into our area. So there's nothing for kids to do other than get in trouble, go drinking, and end up fighting. There's a lot of pent-up aggression, a lot of pent-up frustration. And I think I used that really well, positively, to get boys off the street. You know, I was the landlord's favourite person at the time because they could ring me on a Saturday evening if there was a little bit of, let's just say, unsettled atmosphere in a pub, and I could go in there and point a few of my boys out from there and it would be resolved without anybody having to phone the police, any doing. So, you know, the community got behind me in that respect as much as I was creating a team full of fighters that were killers, but at the same time, they were learning respect. They knew that I had a certain code that they would have to adhere by. And for me, I don't want the greatest fighter in the world if he's an asshole. It's no good to me. I don't want some idiot representing me and my reputation. He can be the best fighter in the world, but if outside he's not liked by anybody, he's got a bad attitude with his teammates, bad attitude with the community. Just, you know, for me, the key thing is creating good human beings. And on the back end of that, if they become a good fighter and a good competitor, that's a bonus. But for me, it's like, get them into something positive, getting them off the street, out of trouble, getting them fit, off the booze, off the drugs, and just creating fit, healthy human beings that are good for the community as such.
I remember years ago there was a quote from Don Draeger, you know, the guy who went all around the world, and he was the first guy to really see all the different martial arts. He wrote a book about it, so it was the first time that the West had known about all it, like way before even television, internet, whatever. And Draeger used to say the one thing that he found all the way through martial arts was that if you got a guy who was at a really good level, the world was a safer place with him in it. So when in that room, the world was a safer place. And it'd be like, oh, you know, and everyone jumped to that conclusion, you know, oh, so he could straighten any trouble out. And he went, no, because he's not a maniac. Like, because he's got his violence under control, he'll do that. And then the second one, as you were saying it, is like Guru Dan Inosanto, my main teacher. Guru always says the same thing. He goes, you got to be a good citizen and a good member of the community. He said, that's the paradox of martial arts. You do it all for yourself, but it spreads out into everywhere else. Now, that's going to link me into when you're talking about fighting and stuff. Look, I have to admit, right? It was I on the last fight on the last card that Jack was on, right? I made £530. 8 fights, called all 8 of them. Obviously, all obviously bet for Jack, right? So I'm there. And obviously, as the results are coming in, we're watching it live because it was that time where it was one of those mad shows, you know, that you could watch in the UK at that time. So we're getting the results in. And then the next thing you know, Jack mentions that you were getting over. Yeah, you were just about to start your treatment, or were you halfway through?
No, I finished the chemotherapy, and the following week I was about to start the radiotherapy. So
can you, if you don't mind, just first of all, how did you find out that you had cancer, and then just speak a little bit about it, please?
Right. So last April 2022, I found a lump in my groin. So I had one of the lads look at it in the gym, who's pretty clued up physically, and he's like, I think it's an hernia, you need to get down to GP. So I booked an appointment, again, about a week I had to wait. So the GP has done this examination on me. He said, yeah, you've got a hernia. We'll put you on the waiting list. It can be up to 12 months. I said, can I carry on training? She said, yeah, carry on training as long as it's not uncomfortable, but don't be lifting anything heavy. Okay, so I go from there and I go back training, and I just try and avoid doing a bit of weights, just grappling really. And in July, I had a phone call saying that there'd been a cancellation on the hernia operations, and could I go down and have a pre-op? So I thought, oh, brilliant. You know, it's only been a couple of months, 5 months rather than a year. So I go down, this doctor meets me, has a chat, does an examination, and he's like poking and prodding the lump. And his words were, on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful? And I've gone 0. And he says, all right, appreciate you're a fighter and a martial artist. Leave your ego at the door. How uncomfortable? I said, Doc, I got no ego. It's 0. I can feel the lump, but there was no pain there. He says, all right. So he says, can you wait 10 minutes? I want to go and do a Zoom call with my superior. So he comes back and he goes, right, I don't think it's an hernia. We need to find out what it is. That should be really uncomfortable, what I was doing to you. Can you do an ultrasound next week? So yeah, so I go down and have the ultrasound. I'm literally laid on the bed 15 seconds. They're doing the ultrasound. The doctor says, right, I categorically tell you this is not a hernia. So I'm getting a bit stressed. And I'm like, well, what is it? Well, we don't guess in this game. We need to do further tests. The same day then he says, can you wait an hour and I'll get you an MRI? My heart sank at that point because I thought, like, where we are in Wales, to get an MRI is 18 months all day long, you know, unless you go private. But he took me up on the same day, done an MRI scan. And as I left, they said to me, if that inflames, you need to present to A&E. So 2 weeks goes by, like an orange-sized lump is now pushing through on my groin. It's swollen up. I had a job to walk, so present to A&E. After 9 hours of bloody waiting, I go in and they say, let's have a look. How uncomfortable? I said, I'm in absolute agony. I said, I did have an MRI scan to see if the results are back, and it is. And she said, right, we believe it could be lymphoma cancer. So what we're going to need to do is cut this lump out in the next 3 weeks. So 3-4 weeks goes by, I'm having no contact with anybody. Finally, a doctor rings me and says, right, you've got to do a biopsy. So I had to go down and have like a small operation where it's a long old needle, but they put a needle in through your hip, into the groin, and they, withdraw some samples off the lump. I wait another 4 weeks. I have a meeting with the doctor. The doctor says it was inconclusive. So we're on like week 10 now, and they've told me 3 weeks this lump needs to be cut out. So then they send me in for an operation. So knock me out. When I wake up, the doctor comes round and says, right, I've removed the lump. Bad news, there's more lumps in there. I've removed 2. I've had to leave 1 in because it's touching your artery, and I need a specialist team there to remove that because, there's a risk of you bleeding out. But what we've done, we've sent these lumps off for biopsy. Fingers crossed it'll come back that it's benign. And, I've done enough digging out that this will be the end of the situation. So 4 weeks goes past. I get a phone call by a guy called Professor Edwards, calls me down to the hospital, and tells me I got cancer pretty much, and that I would need chemotherapy and radiotherapy to fix it. So it comes as a bit of a blow. That was the end of November. Obviously, the wife is upset, Jack's upset, my daughter Alice is upset, family, friends. But it is what it is. So you got to get rid of it. So I met the cancer team. They were lovely. I got to be honest. I can't fault them guys. The support given me has been unreal. On the back end of that, it was arranged that January the 6th I would start chemo, and that's what I've been doing pretty much for the last 4 months. So I had chemotherapy from January 6th through to end of March. Horrific, and like you speak to different people, it affects people in different ways. For me, it was awful. I was on like 28 tablets a day, 20 steroid tablets a day, self-medicating injections 5 days a week. So you'd have your treatment on the Friday. You would be dying on your backside for 5 days, but you'd be taking all these steroids. So you're not sleeping. Your mood is bad. On day 6 then till day 11, you'd have to self-medicate injections. I was making me ill. Then you'd have 10 days respite where you'd feel a little bit better, and then you'd be going back through the process again. So, when we was diagnosed, Jack said, look, we were aware the London fight was coming, and he's like, I don't want to fight. And I'm like, son, it'll give me something to focus on as well. I'm one of these, I've got to be busy all the time. I can't sit still for 2 minutes. And I just thought it would really take my mind off the treatment and the rest of it. So it was a tough time for him because he's obviously been worried about me, and to the fact there were pockets of days where I wouldn't be at the gym. I've not been able to teach from January to March because I've had to sit up, from a distance with a mask on, because obviously your system is vulnerable. If you pick up an infection, it delays the next set of chemotherapy, which then, how they explain is, if I miss one, they add 2 on the end. So it was horrific. My first one. I didn't want to miss one. So finished last week on the radiotherapy. That was draining 4 weeks. At the Velindre Hospital in Cardiff, having to drive back for every day, have your treatment, come back home. And now I wait 6 weeks, and I have a scan in 6 weeks' time, and the doctor will give you the results as to whether I'm in remission or whether we've got to follow on and do additional treatment.
Well, I've been following it. As I said, I won't lie to you, it came as a wrench because I was watching the London show, and then I don't know if you remember, I sent you a message. I sent you the screenshot of my winnings at the end of it, and you went, good lad. Yeah, I think you were looking for 10%. You looked for 10%. You did the Dana White on me. My son wanted 20%, so he wanted that as well. But it was a nightmare. And then obviously I sent you a message. Yeah, just sending love. You can't do anything else. You know what I mean? And then what I've noticed recently is how you've been raising money while doing this for the cancer. Is it the cancer ward or who
I wanted it specifically to go to the ward, not the hospital in general or one of the cancer charities. So honestly, mate, the doctor down there, Dr. Tricky, and the nursing team, I'm an old man, a little bit agitated, and it comes as a shock, but just make you feel at ease. The care and compassion they show. People talk about unsung heroes. Let's lock down your unsung heroes. People use the word in fighting all the time, warrior, don't they? Oh, he's a warrior. I say to everybody, come down and have a look at some of these youngsters on these wards. You'll see what a real fighter is. What we do is for fun in sport, but to see these kids having treatment and watch how upset their parents are, and just watch how full of joy they are, these children, that are at risk of losing their life at a very young age. But just to watch how the nurses, staff and everybody are, how they look after them, it's amazing, mate. And as I said, I run the Cage Warriors Academy show. We always raise money for a charity. On the night, we've always changed the charity every show. So we decided to do it for the ward. Jack did a bit of memorabilia, which we signed.
Yeah, I saw that,
as well. And we came up with just over 2,100. So I give a check for 2,100. And we bought like 20 bottles of wine and 12 boxes of chocolates for the staff in the ward as well. So it was nice. Yeah, we went down, done the presentation, and do you know what? I couldn't get over it. Like, the head nurse says to me, "Thanks for this." Not so much for me, she said, but for the young girls, it's a big thing, because very rare they get any sort of accolade or any sort of thanks, for what they do, which I found amazing. But going forward, it'll be a regular thing. 2-3 times a year, I'll raise money for them, and fingers crossed. If we can help them in any way we can, we'll continue to do so for the next 10, 20 years, whatever it is.
Well, well, the thing was that like I was really impressed when I saw that, and then a couple of days ago, I think it was, I saw that the guys at the club had done something for you. Would you like to?
Yeah. Wednesday at the session. Again, I'm an emotional wreck anyway. Mick, they don't take the piss because I'm this big alleged tough nut, but I cry over everything. And they just presented me with a card. The card, mine was a tongue-in-cheek. It was like the Straight Outta Compton theme, but it said Straight Outta Chemo. And everyone filled it in. And they had a collection. And God bless them, they give me a holiday voucher for £1,200 for me and the wife.
Wow.
Once we've had, but I'm not going to use that. I want the all clear first. I want to make sure that my mind's in a good place. And but yeah, I said on the post that I put on social media, we really have something unique at our gym, I believe. It's not just like a team of individuals training for their own purpose. It's a team, a very, very, very much in the spirit of a football or a rugby team where, everybody's behind everybody. I've always said this, people say it's an individual sport, but if you haven't got a teammates to train with, you can't progress. So it is in essence a team sport, because everything about competing in Jiu Jitsu or mixed martial arts or any sort of combat sport, it's no good if you got a team of people around you can trust and you can spar with, So, yeah, fantastic team spirit down there. And, it was quite emotional, to be honest. When
it popped up, because obviously, as I said, when Jack said it in the cage, I was like, oh, shit. And because the boys were like, "Mate, yours, isn't it?" And I went, "Yeah." And I went, again, it's that whole, certain people will put it out there, and I don't judge them, because some people need to have that social media interaction. Then other people, you find out, like yourself.
We never told anybody. I'm not one of those guys that needs to post my life on Facebook. My Facebook is pretty much made up of trolling the football fans. I don't even follow football, but I have hours of fun trolling people on football.
Love Island.
Love Island. And I left Love Island this year just because it wasn't well, mate. I was having the chemo, and I just didn't have the frame of mind to start bantering with people. So I had a few people message me going, I will not have an update. So and I was like, I just haven't got time at the moment. I didn't get into it with anybody. But my close family knew. Obviously, the team knew, because I was going to be away from the gym for pockets of days at the time. But I kept to myself. And also, mate, we didn't broadcast a fight week or anything, just on the basis that I didn't want anybody thinking I was looking for an excuse in place should Jack not come away with the win. It's been a bit of a perfect storm, a bad situation, when he's announced what he's announced. The feedback off people, the reaction to the auction spiked then, so we raised 2,100. By Monday, I'm not exaggerating, I must have had 1,500 messages of people I knew, people I didn't know, people I knew of but have never met in the fight community, people who've lost parents to cancer, people who's dealing with cancer, and it was quite touching to see the response of it. Then the back end of that, from a positive point, is that the UFC contacted us and said that They wanted to do a mini documentary on me and Jack and touch on his career and touch on the battle with cancer. That's going to be out on UFC Fight Pass in May, I think they told me. That's going to be called Unbreakable, which I think is an apt name for it, because I say to everybody,
definitely,
there's things in life that will kill me, but nothing will ever break. I've got that mindset, Vic. You've known me a long time, and it'll take something incredible to crush my spirit, to crush my attitude or approach to life, So, there's a lot of positive on the end. Like I said, I'm praying now. It'll be 5 weeks out because we've had the first week past it. We get this scan, we have a positive outcome, and I can go back to living my life at normal. Because I've had no normality pretty much since. And I'm the back end of the bloody cancer operation last year when they had the lumps removed. 4 weeks before that, I had a knee operation, my second one within 16 months. So
wow.
I've had a real unsettled 2 years. I had a meniscus repair, which I wish they'd never done. Put me out of training for 9 months. Then it tore again. Then I ended up having the meniscus partially trimmed, which I wish they'd done first time round because it's recovered lovely now. But yeah, it's been a tough, not just physically, but mentally, it's been tough, But I try and stay on top of it for the benefit of the family and everything else,
Yeah, you see, obviously, in nowhere near your level. A couple of years ago, I went deaf overnight. They thought I had a brain tumor. Then found out it was just getting repeatedly punched and kicked in the knees and elbowed in the head. And they were like, "What did you expect? Something was gonna give." And you just touched on the mental health thing because you go on social media and you know what it's like. Every Monday morning is mental health is not a joke. And I always look at it and go, no, that's a hangover. What you've got is you've been on the session. This is a hangover. And then
and it's not just hangover. It's drink and drug related a lot.
Oh yeah, always. And it's like that's what gives them the spiral downwards. And then just from my personal experience, man in his mid-50s, at the moment, what's getting me a lot of is just the realization that how many more years have I got left of doing this? And you know what it's like. I have this with Neil Simpkin all the time, right? So, Bugger, he's a madman, right? He's a killer when it comes to Jiu Jitsu. And he says, some of those blue belts and purple belts give you a hard time now. And I'm like, but they should do. They're 30 years younger than me.
30 years younger, yeah, of course.
And they haven't got the miles on the clock. So that's going to lead me into, everything, the stars are in alignment and you get the all clear and everything's good. What's the future for you personally, Shakes? Training wise and development?
To be honest, it'll just be the same, mate. Continue to improve the team, working hard, competing regular. For me personally, I still continue to try. Like I said, during the chemotherapy, even though I couldn't do any grappling or any teaching with that respect, hands-on, I was still in the gym every day. Fortunately, I got my own place and we closed between 10 and 4 p.m. I go down on my own and I do some weights, cross-train, a sauna, and I would do that every single day. And I think that's had a big impact on not letting myself, not letting my muscle waste, which again can get impacted when you're having chemotherapy. But yeah, it's just like that peace of mind that I can start enjoying life a bit. It stays at the back of your head all the time, doesn't it? When you're worrying about a result, So,
yeah. And
for me, and it sounds like I'm being pedantic, but it's more for my family than me. I can deal with things and live with things, but I know it's taking its toll on my wife and on my daughter and on my son, and close friends and the team as well. So it'd be just nice to go right, clear. I can book a holiday with the money they've got to collect if me, God bless them. I just go back to a little bit of normality, Not have to worry about, have I got to have an hospital appointment? Have I got to have some injections? Do I need to give bloods? Have I got to go back and have chemotherapy? So I'm staying positive. I feel fit. I feel well under all the circumstances. And in 6 weeks, if I get the all clear, it'll be, back. I tell you what, mate, as you just said about getting away, it makes you realize that you are mortal, I always think I'm invincible and I'll be fine. That's my philosophy in life, But it does make, certain things I will look at taking care of myself, probably diet-wise, just things like that a little bit, going forward.
Well, the thing is, I know it sounds cliched, but, Shakes, you know, and I mean this, you're a force for good in the world, and that's the truth.
Yeah,
like, if you know, you look at it as I told Will that so many times when you were still back at the Tillery, see, got it, at the combat club, when you were there first, I was like, look at what he's doing. And then when you started posting pictures of Shore Martial Arts, I was like, wow. Because like it's a state-of-the-art place, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, complete transformation. Yeah.
Did you ever think in your wildest dreams you'd ever have that?
Again, you know, I knew it would come eventually, as long as we had success, which we did. You know, once Jack Shaw got in the UFC, I thought, like, you know, the gym that we were in had served its purpose for 10 years, and a good friend of mine had bought that building specifically for us to open a gym up in. And we lost him over, you know, during COVID as well. So it's a big part of the gym has gone. But we needed something. You know, we'd done all this. We didn't even have an MMA cage in the building, you know. So I wanted somewhere where everything was under one roof, where we had a sauna, a treatment room, a strength and conditioning and a fitness suite, a bigger wrestling area, and a full-size MMA cage. And, you know, we made the shouts after Jack went. There was a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the country had got behind him. It was a lot of talk, a lot of hype behind him. So it was a good time to open it. And we invested a fortune in it. And again, this is how shit my last 3 years have been. We opened up November 2019. Everything goes great. We like triple our footfall. Everything's brilliant. In January, my accountant rings me and says, right, you're going to have to switch from a sole trader, which I've been for 11 years, to a limited company. Yeah, no problem. We've done that. So we switched to become a limited company. Then March 2020, the entire country shuts down. Now, based on me becoming a limited company in January, where you've seen all these people and businesses getting grants, I was classed as a new business with no history of accounts, and I could not claim a penny. So we'd invested in apps. I don't know the figures, but there's a lot of money, 6 figures we'd invested into the gym. And then my income has stopped. My outgoings have not stopped because I've still got to pay rent on the building. I've still got to pay the electric on the building. So like pretty much for 18 months out of 2 years, we had zero income. We lost a lot of customers on the back end of it. And you know, I'm talking to a lot of gym managers, and they're all saying the same. It's never fully recovered from that COVID period. People have gone into a rut and have become isolated and have become afraid of going out and breathing fresh air. And the last year has been pretty okay. We've started picking back up, taking over. But, you know, the last few years, if anything has gone wrong, it's gone wrong. It's like my knee operation was a routine trim. When I woke up, they'd repaired the leg 9 months, you know, for 8 weeks on crutches in absolute agony. Then it tore again. Then I lost one of my best friends in the world during COVID. He passed away. Then I had another knee operation. Then I had all this bloody issue from April 2022 onwards with worrying about what the lump is and whatnot. But as I said, it may kill me, but nothing breaks me. And I keep going, I keep my head up, I keep smiling. And you can throw the world at me, pal, and it'll either bounce off me or it'll kill me, but it'll never break. Yeah, it's like that. It's like that old saying, you know. It's like God never gives you more than you can handle, and you're like, God, I'm pretty much up to my fucking limit now. You know what I mean? He needs to rein it in if he is for real. Because he's taking the piss out of me. Yeah, Morgan Freeman, if you're listening, bro, you know what I mean. I'm speaking directly to you, or Charlton Heston if you're a little bit older. But Shakes, if you're a bit older, I'll tell you what. You know, thanks so much for your time. As I said, now I had to watch. I'll tell you now. I had to watch some Love Island because I didn't have to watch it because you used to take the bullet for everybody, yeah. But it was like, listen, that's a wrong phrase to you. It's my guilty pleasure. I used to look forward. I finished training, have my shower, lock the gym, driver, have a bit of dinner with my wife. I say 9 o'clock, your kid. Let's get it on. I tell you what, I got to tell you something. Now, this is, I'll let you have this one, right? You remember how great Dan Hardy was at doing the breakdowns on the fights, yeah? For the UFC. You are literally the Dan Hardy of Love Island. I'd be watching it and then it'd be like snakes and fakes, babs and all that. And then I'd look at that. And I really mean this. I said,
it's been an absolute joy to get you today. But I've always wanted to tell you and have a record of this. Like, the only person I know as problematic on social media than me is you. But it was like, I was looking at the Love Island. I could tell was a guilty pleasure, but the football, and it was like, I was like, Shakes is just trolling people here, and like there were guys literally spitting with rage. And then I was like, and I was thinking, yeah, but we're talking about the guy who introduced me once. Do you remember the time up at Densetsu submission only tournament? Do you remember? You introduced Ashley Amos to me as the chocolate.
Yeah.
Because I went in. I was like, so nicknames, boys, and you came over and you were like, Mick, this is the chocolate pig, and I went, what? And he went, he likes chocolate and he looks like a pig. And then everyone else was going, I'm the soul snatcher. I'm the heart killer. You know, all of this. And I was like, and then obviously the chocolate pig loved it. But Shakes, it's been an absolute joy over the years. Just every time I see you, it's always great to see you. I wish you all the best for your health. All my love to the family. And the thing is, looks like this will be the last one. That was some win for Jack. That last fight. The momentum's back again, right?
Back, mate. You know, and again, there's a lot of people doubting us after the loss. But I knew 1-4. He should have done 1-4-5, 3-4 fights ago. You know, but as he's always said, it's easy to forget about a horrific weight cut when you're winning. But I think, particularly around second round, we've seen the old vintage Jack show back. Somebody would mix it all in, put a pace on people and break them. And as I said again, I don't think he had enough praise for what he done. You know, he submitted a guy that's never been submitted in the UFC. I think his last submission loss was 12 years ago when he first started. Wow. So, you know, to finish him the way he did, I'm really proud of him. Really proud.
I'll tell you what, Jack Tank Shaw, man, he's good. And the beauty is, like, the beauty of the UFC game now is it used to be a meat grinder, but you show me a guy who hasn't got a loss on his record, and I'll show you a guy who's never really fought. You know,
exactly.
Khabib's great, but you know what? Sorry, there's 29-0 is great, but you look at the defenses and you look at some of the old champs that really put it on the line. And this would be the last thing, if you don't mind me asking, right? What's your take on this amalgamation with like WWE and like turning it into this multimedia thing? Do you think that's going to be good for the sport?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like any sort of exposure is good exposure, but you know, from what I'm hearing, there may be a bit of crossover with like guys coming at the end of their career in the UFC, possibly dropping into the WWE. I don't see any of the WWE guys coming over to fight. Not at that. Well, we'll see what happens.
CM Punk did do well.
Yeah, you know. So I just don't see how. I just think it'll be two organisations under one umbrella, but we run separately. You know, I don't think. Yeah. Personally, I don't see it crossing over a lot. You may see a few of the WWE stars at some of the big events and vice versa. They may have this issue where like just raising them, you know, promoting each other's brand, but I don't think there'll be any sort of crossover with the runner. I can't see Vince McMahon turning up and doing a weigh-in at UFC 290 or something.
It would be absolutely great if, like, you know, say Mankind came in against John Jones, you know what I mean? And you go, which one of those is the maddest one out of them two? But it's the logical conclusion. You know, you need to, it is an entertainment business at the end of the day, and personalities, as we know, personalities win fights. Like, as soon as I saw the BMF belt come in, I knew that there was going to be a stepladder being pulled out of the cage.
Agreed.
The only thing is, Shakes, I'll tell you right now, just a little bit of advice. I know you're one of the preeminent coaches in the world, but every time you go to the UFC now, check underneath the cage, and if there's a stepladder there, right, or a roll of barbed wire around the baseball bat, you know, you might need to keep a close eye on Herb Dean. You know what I mean?
Maybe they should have some of the coaches, shouldn't they? Let the coaches have a ladder match after the fight.
Oh, now you're talking. I'll tell you something. There's a few. My money's on you, Shakes. The unbreakable Hickard Shaw. There you are.
The only issue is my knees don't take you up and down a ladder on a regular basis, so it'll have to be a one and done situation.
Hey, one and done's all we need, man. Remember back in the karate days, I only need one punch, bro. But hey, Shakes, thanks for your time, brother.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having us.
Hey, no worries, man.
Sports Social Podcast Network.